The average person watches a television game show and sees a path to the American dream. The average person sees a hero standing under neon lights, answering questions, and collecting a life-changing check. The audience believes that the game is a test of merit. The audience believes that the smartest or the luckiest person wins. But the television screen is not a window. The television screen is a filter. Behind the bright colors and the cheering crowds lies a world of cold calculation and systematic deception. Game shows are not designed to distribute wealth. Game shows are designed to sell commercial time to the highest bidder. When the ratings drop, the fairness of the competition becomes a secondary concern. The producers of these programs realized decades ago that a real genius is often too quiet and a real winner is often too boring. To fix the problem of reality, the industry turned to the art of the fix. This video is an autopsy of the most famous moments when the fix failed. This video will explore how a charming professor fooled an entire nation with stolen answers. This video will show how a lottery host tried to steal millions with a can of spray paint. This video will reveal how a wanted criminal thought a game show stage was the perfect place to hide from the law. Arca Insight does not exist to celebrate the winners. Arca Insight exists to expose the mechanics of the scam. This journey through the history of televised fraud will prove that the house always wins, even when the house is just a studio in Burbank. The reality of the game is that the prize is never free. The prize is the cost of the audience's belief. Luck is the religion of the uninformed. For the people who run the cameras, luck is a variable that must be managed, controlled, or eliminated entirely to ensure the flow of capital remains uninterrupted. Let the investigation into the worst game show cheats in history begin. To understand the depravity of the modern game show, you must look back at the 1950s. This was the golden age of the television set. Every American household was inviting a glowing box of lies into their living room. The producers discovered a terrifying truth early on. The truth is that reality is boring. They needed a hero. They found one in a young professor named Charles Van Doren. He was handsome. He was articulate. He came from a family of intellectuals. He was the perfect face for a show called 21. But there was a problem. The reigning champion was a man named Herbert Stemple. Stemple was smart, but he was not a star. He was awkward. He was difficult to market. The producers decided that Stemple had to go. They sat him down in a dark room and gave him an ultimatum. "Listen, Herb," the producer whispered. "You are a genius. We all know that. But the American people do not want a genius who looks like he is about to have a nervous breakdown. They want a prince. They want Van Doren. We need you to lose. We will give you the wrong answer for a question about a movie you have seen 10 times. Just say you do not know it. Do it for the ratings, Herb. Do it for the future of television." Stemple took the dive. He walked away with his pride in a dumpster, while Van Doren became a national icon. Van Doren won $129,000. He appeared on the cover of Time magazine. He was the intellectual savior of a generation. Every week, millions of people watched him sweat in a soundproof booth, pretending to struggle for answers that were already written on his palm. It was a beautiful, profitable delusion, but greed always leaves a paper trail. While 21 was busy printing money, another show called Dotto was falling apart. A standby contestant named Edward Hilgemeyer found a notebook. Inside that notebook were the answers for the current champion, Marie Wynne. It was a literal cheat sheet for the American dream. The producers tried to buy Hilgemeyer's silence for $1,500. They tried to bury the truth under a mountain of cash. It did not work. The investigation that followed was a public autopsy of the industry. The sponsors fled. The ratings vanished. The federal government realized that the most popular programs in the country were nothing more than staged propaganda for consumerism. Van Doren eventually confessed before Congress. He admitted that his entire career was a performance. He was not a genius. He was just a man who was very good at following instructions from people who wanted to sell soap. The golden age of the quiz show did not die because of a lack of knowledge. It died because the audience finally realized that the questions and the answers were owned by the same people. This is when everything starts to get crazy. The 1950s were about prestige. The 1980s were about pure, unadulterated greed. By 1980, the lottery was the new religion of the working class. People believed the lottery was the only way to escape the grind. Nick Perry was the man who delivered that dream to the people of Pennsylvania every night. Nick Perry was the host. Nick Perry was the face of luck. But Nick Perry did not believe in luck. Nick Perry believed in physics. Nick Perry gathered a small group of insiders and local officials. Nick Perry looked at the lottery machine and saw a flaw. The machine used air to blow light ping-pong balls into a tube. If the balls are the same weight, the outcome is random. If the balls are different, the outcome is a paycheck. Nick Perry told his co-conspirators, "Listen to me. This machine is a vacuum. The machine takes money from the poor and gives that money to the state. Why should the state keep all the profit? We are going to buy a can of white paint. We are going to inject that paint into every ball except for the number 4 and the number 6. The heavy balls will stay at the bottom of the machine. Only the light balls will rise. The math is perfect. The physics of greed is foolproof." On April 24th, 1980, the drawing happened. The air started blowing. The balls started dancing. But the balls were weighted down by the leaden weight of corruption. The first ball was a 6. The second ball was a 6. The third ball was a 6. Nick Perry stood there with a plastic smile. Nick Perry announced the winning number to a state that was suddenly very suspicious. The mania was immediate. Across Pennsylvania, betting shops were flooded with tickets for the number 666. The payout was $3.5 million. But the conspirators were not smart enough to hide the trail. The conspirators placed thousands of dollars in bets on specific combinations. The bookies noticed the pattern. The investigators followed the money. The dream of Nick Perry ended with a 7-year prison sentence. The 3 little numbers, 666, did not bring wealth. Those numbers brought a total collapse of public trust. While Nick Perry was rigging the machine, a man named Kerry Ketchum was rigging the entire identity system of the United States. In 1988, a man calling himself Patrick Quinn appeared on the show Super Password. Patrick Quinn was charming. Patrick Quinn was fast. Patrick Quinn was winning record-breaking amounts of cash. The producers loved Patrick Quinn. The cameras loved Patrick Quinn. But a federal agent sitting in an FBI field office did not love Patrick Quinn. The agent looked at the television screen and felt a cold chill of recognition. The agent turned to a colleague and said, "Is that Patrick Quinn on the television?" "No, that is Kerry Ketchum. The man the FBI has been chasing for credit card fraud across 3 states is currently winning $50,000 on national television. Grab the handcuffs. The FBI has a front row seat to the final round." Kerry Ketchum was a fugitive. Kerry Ketchum was a ghost. Yet Kerry Ketchum was so addicted to the spotlight that Kerry Ketchum could not resist the chance to win a game show. Kerry Ketchum won $58,000. Kerry Ketchum was a champion for exactly 4 days. On March 22, 1988, Kerry Ketchum returned to the NBC Burbank studio to collect the winnings. Kerry Ketchum did not find a check. Kerry Ketchum found federal agents waiting in the lobby. The irony is thick enough to choke a lawyer. Kerry Ketchum was a master of fraud. Kerry Ketchum could hide from the government for years, but Kerry Ketchum could not hide from the lens of a television camera. The mania of the game show is a drug. The drug makes the dealer forget that the entire world is watching the crime. These were not just cheats. These were people who believed that the bright lights of the studio would blind everyone to the truth. The reality is that the camera does not just show the face. The camera shows the soul. And the souls of these contestants were as hollow as a painted lottery ball. But what is the actual mechanism behind the curtain? What is the secret arithmetic that powers the glowing box in your living room? To the viewer, a game show is a contest of skill. To the network, a game show is a high-frequency trading floor where the only commodity is human attention. A game show is a black box. On the outside, you see the chrome and the glitter. You see the flashing lights and the host with teeth that are too white to be natural. But inside that box, there is no room for luck. There is only the management of risk. Every contestant is a data point. Every question is a control lever. The producer of a show is like a casino owner who also happens to own the local police department and the newspaper. They do not want a fair game. They want a narrative. A fair game is unpredictable. A fair game might result in a winner who is unattractive or a loser who is too charismatic. Chaos is bad for the advertisers. Chaos is bad for the quarterly earnings report. Therefore, the house creates the illusion of fairness to hide the reality of control. Think of the studio as a theater of the mind. The stage is built to induce a state of mild hypnosis. The music is designed to trigger specific neurological responses. The fast-paced editing prevents the brain from asking questions that might break the spell. In this environment, the truth is not what happened. The truth is whatever the audience believes happened. Imagine a conversation in a dark executive office at a major network. The producer sits behind a desk made of mahogany and stolen dreams. The assistant enters with a clipboard. "We have a problem," the assistant says. "The champion has won for 6 nights in a row. He is a mathematician with no personality." The audience is falling asleep. We are losing the suburban demographic. The producer looks out the window. He does not care about math. He cares about the cost per 1,000 viewers. "Replace him," the producer says. "Give the new girl the categories she likes. Better yet, give her the actual questions. We need a hero who can sell laundry detergent. We need a winner who makes people feel like they could win too. If the mathematician gets in the way, change the buzzer timing. Make the game move faster than his brain." This is the mechanism. The cheats we have discussed did not just break the rules. The cheats realized that the rules were already broken. Charles Van Doren did not invent rigging. He just accepted a job as the face of it. Nick Perry did not invent manipulation. He just tried to move the profit from the state's pocket to his own. The cheats are the inevitable byproduct of a system that prioritizes the spectacle over the substance. The irony of the value proposition is that the audience provides the value and the house provides the cage. You pay for the prize with your time. You pay for the drama with your trust. When a cheat is caught, the network acts shocked. They fire the producer. They cancel the show. They issue a press release about integrity. But the mechanism never changes. They just build a more sophisticated box. They find a host with even whiter teeth. They tell you that this time, the game is real. And because the human brain is hardwired to seek a jackpot, you sit back down, you watch, you believe. You are the final piece of the machine. And then, Judgment Day arrived. It came in the form of a dry throat and a calculated cough. In 2001, a retired British Army major named Charles Ingram sat in the hot seat of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. He was the perfect target for the Arca Insight lens. He was struggling. He was burning his lifelines like a man in a sinking ship. He admitted on camera that he did not know the answers. He was ready to go home with a few £1,000s and his dignity. But then, the air in the studio changed. The silence of the high-stakes environment was broken by a rhythmic sound, a cough from the audience, then another, and another. The producers in the control room were not watching the game. They were watching the patterns. They saw a fellow contestant named Tequan Wittick. Every time host Chris Tarrant read the correct answer, Wittick cleared his throat. It was a Morse code for the mediocre. "Look at the monitor," the head producer whispered to his assistant. "Ingram just said he had never heard of Craig David. He is about to walk away. But wait, listen to that." Someone in the audience just coughed twice. Now, look at Ingram's face. He is smiling. He is suddenly an expert on UK garage music. He is picking the right answer. This is not luck. This is a heist in progress. Ingram reached the £1 million question. The studio exploded. The confetti fell from the ceiling like rain. Ingram looked like a hero, but behind the scenes, the auditors were already sharpening their knives. They did not just listen to the tape. They performed a forensic audio analysis. They counted 192 suspicious coughs. All of them were perfectly aligned with the correct options. The major did not win £1 million. The major won a lifetime of disgrace. He was convicted of fraud. He was given a suspended sentence. He was fined £15,000. His winnings were deleted. The house did not just take the money back. The house made sure the world saw the major as a common thief. But the world did not learn. The greed just migrated from the throat to the pocket. In 2012, on a Spanish show called Pasapalabra, the cheating went digital. A contestant was identifying obscure songs in a fraction of a second. He was faster than the professional band playing the music. The producers realized that the delay between the first note and his answer was too consistent. It was the exact processing speed of an algorithm. The security team moved in. They found a smartphone hidden under the contestant's leg. He had Shazam open. He was not using his brain. He was using a server in the cloud to steal the prize. He was not a musical genius. He was just a man who knew how to download an app. He was removed. The episode was erased. The studio was fitted with metal detectors. The game of intelligence had been replaced by a game of signal strength. The crash of these shows is a mirror for the financial markets. Trust is the only currency that matters. When the audience realizes that the lottery is painted, they stop buying tickets. When the viewers realize the millionaire is a fraud, they turn off the television. The networks do not care about the ethics of the cheat. They care about the erosion of the brand. Every time a scandal breaks, the industry loses billions in market capitalization. The sponsors flee. The advertisers demand refunds. The show becomes a liability. The proof is in the results. Today, every game show is a legal fortress. There are layers of independent auditors. There are teams of lawyers watching every buzzer. There are psychological screenings for every contestant. Why? Because the house knows that human nature is fundamentally broken. The house knows that if there is a hole in the fence, someone will crawl through it. These cheats did not just steal money. They destroyed the last remaining illusion of televised meritocracy. They proved that the bright lights are only there to hide the shadows. The era of the golden jackpot is dead. It was killed by a can of white paint, a fugitive's ego, and a cough in a crowded room. The crash was inevitable because a system built on a lie cannot survive the truth. The game show is a microcosm of the global financial system. The players change, the technology evolves, but the rigging remains constant. Arca Insight does not just case stories about the past. Arca Insight provides the tools to navigate the fraud of the present. If the audience wants to stop being the collateral damage of someone else's jackpot, the audience must learn the rules of the house. Subscribe to this channel to receive deep dives into personal finance and the mechanics of investment. Every week, the channel deconstructs a new illusion of wealth. Do not miss the next autopsy. Next week, the investigation moves to a place where the stakes are even higher than $1 million. Next week, the curtain will be pulled back on the world of central banking. Stay informed or stay broke. The choice belongs to the viewer. In the end, the history of game show cheats is just a history of human nature. The desire to win without the effort to learn is a universal flaw. People look at the major with the coughs and the fugitive with the stolen identity and feel a sense of moral superiority. But the truth is more uncomfortable. Most people do not hate the cheat. Most people just hate that the audience was not the one with the earpiece. The system is designed to exploit that specific envy. The television screen and the stock ticker are the same thing. Both are machines that turn hope into capital for the people who own the equipment. The lesson is simple. The only way to win a rigged game is to stop playing by the rules of the house. Understand the mechanics. Identify the patterns. Never trust a host with a perfect smile or a market with a perfect chart. The greatest cheat in history is the belief that luck is on the side of the average person. Luck is a mathematical error in a system of absolute control. The credits are rolling, the lights are dimming, the audience is walking away, but the house is already resetting the balls for the next drawing. The paint is still wet. The coughs are already being timed. The game is never over. The game is just waiting for a new hero to lie to. Good luck. The audience is going to need it.